In this tutorial, we're going to recreate the Xiaomi homepage using the Neve theme, Otter Blocks for Gutenberg, some other plugins, some custom CSS. We're going to get pretty darn close to the original version of the Xiaomi website using free tools that you have access to right now. And my name is Bjorn Allpass for ThemeMile. If you like this kind of video, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of these videos. And we're getting started right now. This is what we're going to rebuild. This is the header portion of it. We have a nice big slider up here. We have a nice menu system. It's actually a mega menu. When you hover over it, you have images pop up, which is a mega menu. And when we scroll down, see first there's more slides. So we have a couple slides, 4 slides we want to add in here. And then when we scroll down, we have some product images, headline, more product images, headline, some videos, and then the footer area. And this is what we're going to rebuild today using the Neve theme and Optimal for the images and using Otter Blocks for the WordPress Gutenberg editor, which will help us with these section layouts down here. So the top part, the menu, is going to be a menu in the header, and the slider plus these sections plus the video is going to be a content area in a page. So the home page will be the page we create, and then the footer area is going to be the footer. We're going to do the footer and the header inside the customizer. If you're following along and you want to build your website while I'm building mine in this tutorial, and you don't know what to name your domain or what domain name you'd like to have, a great place to generate ideas for domain names is a place called Domain Wheel. And for example, we could type in here, let's just say gadgets, because that's what this site is about. We had a whole list of ideas for available domain names that feature the word gadgets in the URL. For example, thegadgetcompany.net, thegadgets.net. If you don't want the .net, uncheck it here. Uncheck the ones you don't want, check the ones you do want. It'll show only those, and you can pick a nice domain name this way. You can also use the sounds like option or random suggestions if to help you generate more domain names. And once you have a domain name, you need to have a hosting account. A hosting account is basically where you store your website. It's where your website lives on the internet. And there's a link in the description down below for more information and a great deal we negotiated for you for a great hosting account. So if you do need hosting, check out that link. And now let's carry on with the tutorial. And so here's what we're starting with. Not much. This is the home page, and that's all there is. So that's our blank canvas pretty much. For the plugins, we have Gutenberg and Optimal, like I mentioned. I have a menu image plugin, which helps us add those images to the mega menu, and Meta Slider for creating the slider. And for the menus, I've already created the ones in the footer. I have footer 1 here, footer 2, 3, 4, and that is these ones down here. This is number 1, and then 2, 3, 4. And we want to recreate as well the menu at the very top. This guy right here. So I'm going to just create this menu with you. This is actually the most complicated one because it's also the mega menu. And the process I use to create this menu at the top is the same as the footer menu. So if you know how to do one, you can do them all. So I'm going to click on Create New Menu. I'm going to call this Main Menu. I'm going to add custom links for each of these. They're not actually going to be real, true blue clickable links because we don't want to build all these pages. We just want to add these menu items. So I'm going to call the first one Me Phones, and then Poco Phone. I'm going to fast forward through the rest of these because it's the exact same process. Hashtag for the link, and the name in there. So let's fast forward. All right, now I've got all those menu items in here. I'm going to check the box for primary menu and click on Save Menu. And now we have our main menu, the base version, created. We don't have the mega menu created yet, but we have the base menu that we see there. So now let's do the mega menu portion of this menu. Luckily, the Neve theme comes built in with some really handy mega menu options that we're going to use to create something that's very similar to this mega menu. It's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be very similar, and I think you'll be quite happy with the result. So let's do that. Luckily, the Neve theme comes with a bunch of mega menu options to make our lives easier. They're found on this page right here. It's linked to in the description down below, and it tells you how to create mega menus. We're just going to create a really basic one, and I'm going to run through how to do that. And if you want a more complex one or want to do something different with your mega menu, check out this documentation page. So to create the mega menu, the first thing we have to do is add a CSS class to every one of the options that are going to be mega menus, which is going to be My Phones, Poco Phone, ReadMe Phones, My TV, Smart Devices, and Me or My Power Bank. And those are all going to be mega menus. To be able to add a class to these menu options, we have to go to Screen Options up in the top right and click on CSS Classes, or click the checkbox beside it. We have this nice box that appears. We're going to paste in Neve Mega Menu in each of these. All the ones that we want to have mega, and it's all of these. Okay, now all those are going to be the top level of the mega menu. Now I have to create all the sub items in each menu. So for Me Phones, we have all of these, 6 different options, all the phones and the More button. So we want to add all of those as menu options in here. And the way we do that, let's do the first one. All the rest are going to be the same. So MI9SE. Let's do that one. MI9SE. Add to menu. We want to drag and drop it indented below Me Phones. And now this is a mega menu sub item. If I save this, I might actually be able to see this on the front end. Let's close this plugins page. Let's refresh this page. Yeah, there we go. We have the makings of our mega menu right there already. So I'm going to add the rest of these menu items. I'm going to fast forward again because it's the exact same process that we saw previously. And we want to indent each item that's below the specific menu that we're going to make mega. So for your sanity, I'm going to fast forward through that so you don't have to watch that in regular motion. All right, now we have all the menu items in place. And if we save this menu and look at the front page again, let's just put this up there and make this big again. There we go. Okay. Now we have, again, the makings of a mega menu. Looking pretty good. So now we want to add some images to that because theirs is heavily image-based. Lots of nice, pretty images. So to do that, we have a plugin, and the plugin is called Menu Image. It's a really simple plugin, and what it does for us is inside these menu options, it adds a set menu image, image on hover, image size, and title position. So it basically adds this section to each menu item, and we can add what it's describing. So we're going to set an image for these menus, and we're actually going to just transfer over a whole bunch because I've got them already downloaded from the website. All these menu images. I'm in fact going to just upload all of these images because all these images are from the site that I pulled already. I have a simple Chrome extension up here called Download All Images, free in the Chrome store, and you can just download all the images from our website. Makes it super, super easy. I'm just going to upload all these guys. So now they're all up, we're going to find the one we need. I believe it's this one, Menu 1, MISE9. Select, because we're on menu submenu 1, MISE9. I'm going to change the size to original size because it's downloaded right from their site and they have it sized appropriately. For the title position, we want to have it below. This is where the text will go. So these words, or whatever we have for the navigation label, is going to appear below the image. And I've found that it doesn't work 100% in this setup. As we'll see right now, it squishes the words to the side, and that's not how we want it. Luckily, I've created some custom CSS for you, which is part of a little download package you can get that we've linked to. And it basically has all the CSS you can just paste into the customizer, which I'm going to do right now, just the CSS for this section. We'll keep on growing the CSS list right here as we go. This basically just makes it so that the image takes up the full width of this area, and then the title is then below it or where it's supposed to be. So if we refresh now, we have our title below, and that's how we want it. I'm going to quickly add some CSS as well to get rid of these borders and change a couple more simple styling issues in here. So I head back into Customize, and I'm just going to paste in above this all these styles that we have. And what we've basically done is we changed the font size, we changed the color of the menu items, and we took off the border. So let's publish that. Let's refresh out here. Now they're all gone because they're white, but now we have them properly spaced and the way we want them. And the white, it's hard to see now. In fact, I'll just turn that off for now. Let's just make that black for now. But the end product will be white for the text because theirs is white. They have this nice big image underlaid below the text, so white makes sense. For now, let's keep this as black, and I'm going to add the rest of the images to all of these menus, just like I've done with this one. You just open the menu item, set image, find the image, which I think is, I've labeled them all, but maybe not that well. Menu 1 MI9 is this one here. And we set it to original size, title position below, and that's it. So we do that for every single submenu item, and I'm going to fast forward while I do that. All right, now all the images are in the menu. I saved the menu. If I clicked all the right buttons, we should see some pretty good looking menus up here. Those look, I think, pretty darn good. And pretty simple to do. So now we have our mega menu system set up, but we want to adjust things to make it look more like theirs. They have their logo on the left. They've got more of a streamlined setup, whereas we have it all scrunched together. So to make those changes, we go back into the customizer. This is under appearance and then customize. We go to header. Let's go to logo, site identity. I'm going to select the logo, which is this guy right here. I'm going to skip cropping so we don't crop that. I'm going to use the same one for the site icon, which is the, instead of this little planet here, the MI will go up there as a site icon. Let's add that in there. Skip cropping. Now we have it added up there. That's pretty simple. Okay, primary menu. We want to get rid of the search bar with the little search icon because they don't have one. And to give it enough width, we're going to be adjusting the entire width of the website. And we do that under layout and then container. And we're going to make it about this wide. As we can see, this is just what we need. I have to shrink this icon down or the logo down a little bit. So let's go back into header, logo and site identity. Let's make this logo smaller. Let's make it 60. I think that's pretty good. If you ever want to undo that and go back to default, just click on this little arrow, or you can just enter a number value here instead of me shrinking it manually. And you can change the width for different devices as well. Let's change it to, or make it to 60 for all of them. By default, it would be for all of them, but since I click that button, I don't have to do it manually, and it shows us the different sizes for different devices, and I think that's pretty good. Okay, let's click on publish. Let's refresh out here. There we go. I think we have a pretty darn good looking menu system up here. Got our mega menu in place. That's pretty awesome. And next we'll work on the footer. When I build my sites, where we recreate sites, I like to work on the header and the footer because those are throughout the entire website, and then I work on the stuff in the middle. So to add the footer is really simple in the Neve theme because it has a lot of options right here in the footer section. And if we look at the footer we're recreating, it's actually pretty complicated. We have these 4 sections right here. Then we have the copyright section, different styles and designs. We're going to use some more custom CSS to make this work exactly how we want. But we're going to first add these menu item sections right here, and then the copyright. I'm just going to copy this copyright so I don't have to type it out. So the copyright is already in the footer, as you can see right here. Just going to click on this little gear icon. I'm going to make it contained. I'm going to click on this gear over here, and I'm going to add the text, which is this. And don't worry about the size of it right now. This is all going to change with some custom CSS in a little bit. For the layout, I'm going to align it to the left. So in here we can add the footer sections. I'm going to add footer 1 and then footer 2. I'm going to put those right beside each other. Footer 3 and footer 4. Now that we've added all of these, we can edit them right here. So let's go to footer 1. I'm going to add a widget. I'm going to make it the nav menu. I'm going to make it footer 1, and the title will be Learn More. You don't have to make it all caps because the CSS will fix that for you, and the CSS will make the font change and stuff. You'll see it in just a minute. So that's footer 1, done. Footer 2. Headline is support, and then about us, and then follow me. Okay, footer 2. Let's go back into customize, add a widget, navigation menu. Support, footer 2. Done. Footer 3. Add a widget. Navigation menu. About us. Footer 3. Footer 4. Navigation menu. Follow me. Footer 4. Now we have all our menus in place. I'm going to click on Publish to see how that looks. And it's not quite how it is on their site. Let's look at theirs again. Theirs looks a little bit different. Well, quite a bit actually. But we're going to copy and paste some more CSS right into the additional CSS. And that should fix up a lot of what we have. Might have to do some little minor adjustments, but most of it will be looking just like theirs. So we have right here the footer styles, and that looks pretty good. Let's click on Publish. Refresh out here, and that looks pretty much exactly how we want it to. Just a couple minor adjustments to make. The biggest adjustment to make is to make these contained so that they line up with the edge of this little 1 pixel border, which we see on theirs. That's how they do it. They actually have it squished to one side as well. So let's go back into the footer, and let's click on this gear right here. And let's change this to contained instead of full width contained. And now we have them lined up properly. We can change the width that we allot to each one by dragging and dropping right down here. So we can make each one a little thinner and then move them beside each other. Takes a little trial and error to get it just right, or I might get lucky on the first try. There we go, that's pretty good. Click on Publish. Let's refresh out here. Now we have them all squished over like that, a lot like their menu. So it's looking pretty darn good. For all intents and purposes, I think the footer is done. Now we have the header with the menu. We've got the footer. Now we're going to add in the big nice slider in here and the content sections in the middle, which is going to come in the form of a page that we create with Gutenberg. So let's go to Pages and then Add New, and we're going to call it Homepage. It's a pretty good name for the homepage. I'm going to click on Publish, and right away I'm going to go to Settings and then Reading and change the homepage to a static page, which is the one we just created, so that it appears as the home page. Let's go back to Pages and edit this home page. You can also set that in the customizer. I'm just really used to going through the settings right here. So the sections we want to create, these section layouts are added with the Otter Block plugin that I showed you earlier. It's a great little plugin, and it really helps a lot with Gutenberg. So if we want to create these sections, the first one's going to be a full width section. So let's just create a full width section. Next, I want to add another section. And I can just search for section right here. And it's going to be 3 images. So I want 3 columns, 3 column section. And then we have a headline. And then, get to that in just a minute. So we have those columns there. And then we can actually click this quick link right here. Full width section for the headline. And then I just got to look around my mic here. Let's add another section, and this one is going to be a 2 column section. for this right here, because we have this big scooter image. That's one column. The next column is going to have multiple components inside of that column, but it's 2 columns. Basically, I'm going to split up the one on the right. So for this section here, I'm going to add another section, which is going to be a 2 column. And then below it, I'm going to add another one, which is going to be a 1 column. And Gutenberg doesn't make this very easy because it doesn't go full width. It's not what you see is what you get. So it's a little abstracted from the final result. That's why we have these sections that are super tall when they won't be super tall on this site. So it's not the best. But if we get rid of the sidebar on the right here, let's click on no sidebar under the document settings. We have not more space, but adjust it to the middle. Anyway, we'll deal with that. So videos, that's a full width section. Let's put that in right down here. Looking around my mic again. And then 3 videos is going to be a 3 section. Boom, now we have our sections. Now I'm not going to do the header right now. First I'm just going to add all the images because that's quick and easy. So let's go to this plus icon and add an image. I'm going to choose it from the media library, and this image is this first one here, MI Light, then we have MI Mix, and then MI Home Security. Now we have 3 images here. I'm going to add the other images, just like we have here. I'm going to fast forward because it's the exact same process to add all the rest of the images. I'm going to fast forward through that for you so you can still see it, but not in regular motion. All right, now we have all our images. I'm just going to add the 2 headlines, which are star products and videos. Going to add, there's a nice headline widget that the Otter Blocks plugin adds, advanced heading, which allows you to customize your headings a lot more than the regular one. So star products, we can make this all capitals over here in the typography settings, font transform, uppercase. It's all capitals, and let's center that. We'll adjust it some more as we go, but we'll just keep that right now because it's pretty good. Let's add the videos heading right here and add the same settings. Make it uppercase, make it centered. Let's update this page and see what this looks like. That's actually looking not so bad already. Still to do a slider at the top, obviously. Let's get rid of this title right here. To do that, edit the page under, where is it? Right here. Components, disable, title, update, refresh. Now that home page is gone. And now we just want to fix some of these padding issues that we have, the spacing issues, the large gaps between these images. Because we look at theirs and the gaps are not bad here, but very small here, and then not bad here. And that is caused by the Otter Block elements. They all have padding associated with them. So we have to go in and change a lot of padding settings. So we have to change the padding for the section, first of all. So let's go to margin and padding and make these 0. We want to do that for tablets as well. And yes, we have to adjust them for all of it. I'm going to do the first section regular motion, and the rest will fast forward because it's all the same. So we did the section padding. Now we have padding on each of these elements as well. So let's change those all to 0. And then tablets, make them all 0. And then smartphones, make them all 0. There we go. And the image itself does not have any padding issues. So if we update this and take a look, this should be a little bit better for this first image anyway. Can't wait to tell because the other image is still padding. I'm going to go through and edit the padding for all those, change all the paddings and margins to 0. And then we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of space back in to get this small gap between the images. So I've removed all the padding, and we actually have a little more padding because there's another option that I forgot about, and that is inside the sections we have a column gap, which is default 10. We can make this no gap, and then we will have these guys all scrunched up nice and tight. And like I said, we're going to add a little gap back in afterwards. So we're going to continue fast forwarding to the rest of these images, and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, I've removed all the padding and margin everywhere. Now if I refresh, we are looking a lot better. Looks like I didn't remove it all. So we're missing, or we still have some padding up at the top over here. So let's go back into the editor and click around some more, see if we can find that padding. There it is. This one's tricky because you have the overall section with padding, you have this column with padding, you have this column with padding, then you have two columns within the column with padding. So there's a lot of areas where padding is added. So we need to deal with all of it. Otherwise we get those gaps. All right, that should do it. Let's update the page and refresh. And now that is pretty good. And this one right here, we're going to fix with negative margin. If we inspect this, or in fact inspect this one, we can see in the box model on the bottom here, when I hover over this figure, which highlights this image on the right, I can't show you both at the same time, but the highlighted image, which is the band or the smart widget, smart wearable, in the bottom right corner, we see this box that shows margin, border, padding, and the actual element width. So margin's orange, borders are yellow, padding's green, and the element is blue. And we see we have a gap that's white right in here, which is showing it's none of those. There's no margin, no padding, no border. There's nothing in there that's causing that gap. And so there's something going on that'll be really hard to figure out what it is. So instead, we're just going to do a little bit of negative margin to move this element upwards. And to do that, I'm going to go to Inspect, and I'm just going to choose the entire section, which is this one here. And I'm just going to type in margin top minus something. Let's do minus 10. And I'm going to press the up arrow, down arrow actually, and keep on moving it down until it's in the right spot. And I think we want to have a 1 pixel gap. If we go and look at what we're modeling here, it's probably 2 pixels actually. So let's make that a 2 pixel gap. And I messed that up. Let's find that spot again where we're adding this margin. It's minus 26, so minus 25, that's 2 pixels. So now we're going to add this negative margin directly to this element. So I'm going to highlight this, copy it, come back into our page editor. And with Otter Blocks, something really awesome that we can do is add CSS directly to any section, element, widget, whatever with Otter Blocks. I'm going to click the whole section by trying to get this little up arrow with the 6 dots. In the custom CSS, I'm going to paste in our CSS. And this is asking for a selector. We don't need one in this case because it just applies it directly to the section that we're on. So that is super easy. And when we save that, that's going to be where it is in the current position now. I'm pretty sure. So I'm not going to save it right now. First, I'm going to add a 2 pixel gap between these 2 images, and then this big image and these 3 images on the right. So to do that, I'm going to select the section that contains this image. And for the smartphone, we're going to add 2 pixels on the right. For the tablet, same thing. For desktop, same thing. So we have a standard appearance across devices. And then for this guy, I'm going to select the widget that contains it again. 2 on the right for mobile or for cell phones, 2 for tablets, and 2 for desktop. Update that. Refresh it. And this guy's still down here, so that didn't quite work out how we planned. Let's inspect this again, and let's try to find out why that happened, why that didn't work. So we applied a -25, and it canceled it out, which you see right here with this line through. Something overwrote our command to apply that negative margin. So we're going to override the overwrite, and we're going to do that using some fancy CSS commands, actually one in particular, and it's called important. Because, let's see if we can get this section here, because it's important that this happens. So after the 25, I'm going to write exclamation mark important. This is after the value that we enter, but before the semicolon. Click on update, and now refresh, and now we're lined up. And this looks pretty good compared to the original. Let's take a look at the original. I think that looks pretty solid. We have this hover effect that we see here. And these are all links as well. So let's make all of these links and add the hover effect. So to make them links, come back into here, click on any of these images, link to. You can choose any one of these. I'm just going to use a custom URL with a hashtag. It's my most common link on these rebuilds. This one's a hashtag. This one is a hashtag. And this one is a hashtag. Update. Now we should have, instead of just the pointer all the time, we should now have the hand that appears. And there's the hand, so it's like a real link, but we don't yet have the hover effect. For that, we're going to copy and paste CSS again. Just going to put it in before the footer styles, but after the header, paste it in there, publish it, and I'll show you how I found that piece of code, or at least the instructions that we wanted, which is this right here. And now if we come back out here and refresh, we have that nice hover effect, kind of glowing, like they have on theirs. And the way I found that, if we go to the original, right click on it, inspect, it happens someplace. So it could happen when they hover on the image, it could happen when they hover on the link, it could happen when they hover on the list item, and it's usually the list item if there's a list of links. So I'm going to click on the list item. Down here, I'm going to pull this up. This is where the instructions are that display changes on the page, CSS styles. If we click on this hover and then choose hover, it shows all the styles that are applied when someone hovers. It actually shows it being applied. If you watch the shadow around this scooter, it's applied and unapplied when I check this box. And we see right here, this box shadow is appearing and it has the instructions or the selector on hover. So that's where I found that piece of code. I just found the correct selector to apply to on my page, and now we have that on all the elements, including these guys. Can't see it as well yet on these guys because I don't have the gap, but you can see quite well on this one. And so that's how we have that hover effect. Now we're going to add gaps between these 3 and these 3. And if we look back on what we're remodeling, we have, I'm going to say 10 pixels gap between those 2. So let's just apply 10 pixels. Go up here, click this image section on the right, can make that 10. I'm going to unlink those and try that again. Make it 10 for mobile and 10 for tablet and 10 for smartphones. Do the same thing on this one. Just going to fast forward for you. All right, so now we have the gap between all those. So let's do it down here as well. Fast forward through that because it's the exact same process. All right, we have all the gaps. Click on update, And now refresh out here and we have our nice gaps. And up here we have our nice gaps. And now we've, I think, sufficiently recreated the interior. We're not going to get it 100% perfect without spending a whole lot of time doing it, but I think we've come pretty darn close. And so now we are going to create the header, which is these sliding images that we have here, just a basic slider. And we're going to do this using a plugin called Meta Slider, which I have installed already. I showed you that at the beginning of the video. I'm going to create a blank slideshow. Going to add a slide, and I have these images uploaded already, which is these 4 down here. So the first one that they have is this. No, it's not. I have them labeled header slide 1-2, and 1-1 is this one. So this is the first one. Let's add that in. Let's add another one. Header slide -2. Add another header slide -3. Add another header slide -4. All right, so now we have these all in here. You can do a lot of settings within this slider plugin, SEO settings, crop settings, schedule settings. So do that if you want to, but we're not going to for the purposes of this video. I am going to choose the Neve slider because it has more options. When you click down to advanced settings, it has more options than some of the other ones. So it allows you to customize how the slider works. So if you want to customize your slider, this is the way you do it. And if we go to example to flex slider, we have quite a few options there as well. And our slides, fewer options, coin slider, a few options. I find that Neve has the most flexible and some of the best options. And the way we add this to our page is by copying the shortcode. Shows you how to put it inside a template if you want to do that. I'm just going to put it right into the page. If I go back to our page editor, which I left, let's go to all pages again, edit the home page. At the very top, we're going to paste in the shortcode. Gutenberg detects it's a shortcode, automatically adds a shortcode widget. Let's click on update and see how far off we are from what we want. So we see that we're pretty far off because, well, not that far. We have a slider that works, so it's not super far off, but we want to have it full width. We want to have it behind the menu, and that's about it actually. So full width and behind the menu, and that's what we want to have happen. I'm going to close this. I want to have it look like this, and we got a bit of work to do. So to make this happen, we need to add some negative margins, need to add some CSS, because what has happened so far on the site, we've created a full width site, and that's why this menu system and this menu block is the full width, but then the rest of the site is within what's called a container. So we have the container that starts about here and it ends over here, so it's not stretched full width, but we want this section to be full width, so we have to break it out of our container. Luckily, it's pretty simple to do. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. The first thing we'll do is get rid of the padding on the element, just like we did for everybody else, or every other widget, I should say. So there's padding that's added everywhere. It's going to make those all 0. Padding and margin, I should say. Okay, let's update that. Those are all 0. Now we're getting much closer to the very edge, and in fact, there could be some more padding here. And here it is. Let's get rid of that as well. Getting rid of the padding and the margin is time-consuming and strenuous, unfortunately. It'd be nice if there was one easy switch that we could put in here to have it all just padding 0, margin 0. So now we are at the exact width of our container. No padding, no margin. But we still have to break this out of the container. It's contained within our container, the website container. And we want to break it out and make it full width. And to begin that process, we need to add some CSS to our customizer. And I'm just going to paste it in right here. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to document what I'm doing. I'm going to call this slider styles. Save it. I'm going to, in fact, get rid of position absolute. Don't need that. Save that. Now we have our slider big, but it's not to the left-hand side. For that, we have to add some special fancy pants calculation to the element directly inside of the builder, which is right in here. And we should be able to add it to the section itself. Let's try that first. Go to Custom CSS, paste it right in here. And this calculation adjusts the left-hand margin to basically make it 0. And it always recalculates based on the size of the viewport. And so you don't have a situation where you add a specific amount of margin, and then when the viewport size shrinks or grows, you have a gap. So this makes it so it recalculates whenever there's a change, and it always makes sure there is no gap beside the element. And we see it also applies it in here, so it gets kind of a pain to work with this element in the future possibly. But we're gonna just overlook that. So now we have our full width slider, and that's fantastic. But we want to move it up. To move it up, we want to add some negative margin. And we can add the negative margin right in here, like we did, right to this element actually. We can just, actually out here, we'll figure out how much margin we want to add exactly. Select the slider widget, which is this one, and add a margin top of -10 pixels. And keep on adding it, pressing Shift and down to add 10 at a time. Now it's at the very top, -96 is what we want. So let's go in here, margin top for the desktop, -96, update. So there we go, our slider's at the very top. But where did our menu go? That's a great question. It's actually behind our slider. We want to bring it above our slider. The way websites are usually stacked, every sequential element, if it's moved up above the element before it, it is on top of it. So it's stacked like a piece of paper on a desk. And we can change that stacking order by applying what's called z-index. So to do that, let's just move this down again. And we're going to just move it down. If I can find that 96 I applied, -96. You probably saw that way before I did. Let's move it down here. And I have a bit of overlap with the logo so I can see what's happening while I do this. I'm going to inspect the header, and I want the whole header row wrapper, which is probably this one right here. Let's give it a z-index of 1. And there we go. Now the menu is above that slider. I already have a short piece of CSS written for this. I'm just going to paste it into the customizer like we've been doing all along. Paste it in there, and it's basically just dot for the class header z-index equals 1. Publish that, save this, and now we have our slider behind the menu, but the menu has a white background. We want to get rid of that white background. And to do that, we paste in this little piece of CSS. And again, this CSS is made available to you through a link in the description down below, so you don't have to worry about writing it or copying what I'm doing. So if we paste that, we now have our slider behind the menu. Our menu is transparent, but we have to change the font color back to white, which we changed at the very beginning. We changed it to black, and I forgot which one it was. We should be able to change both. No, just the first one. The second one is submenus, pretty sure. So I refresh this. These ones are white. The submenus right here stay black. The second option was these ones. I want to keep those as black. And now we have our slider. Our slider functions a little differently than theirs. We have our arrows up here and our slider dots up there. They have it arrows on the side, slider dots on the bottom, or thumbnail dots on the bottom. Press dots, or whatever you want to call them, they're at the bottom. Ours are on the side. That's just because we're using a different slider technology. You can use whichever one works for you, but the process of getting it to fit to the top and having the menu overlay on top of it works the same, no matter which slider you use. And we just want to add a bit of a gap below it so we have some space between these three images and our main slider. To do that, go back into here, click the 6 dots, and click this X where you need more space. That didn't work, moved it right up. Click these 6 dots anyway, and padding, let's give it margin bottom of 15 pixels, and that should move that down quite nicely. There we go. You can adjust that to more. Yeah, that can be whatever value you want. But I think we've pretty much nailed the rebuild of this homepage, and it looks pretty legitimate. And that's how you do it. And if you followed along and you run into any problems, please leave a comment or a question down below and we'll try to help you figure it out. So that's how we can rebuild the Xiaomi homepage using free tools. And I hope this video helps you. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any videos here on Theme Isle. And next up is clicking one of these videos that popped up on the page somewhere to make sure you get even better at WordPress. And until next time, my name is Bjorn Allpass for Theme Isle, and I will see you in the next video.